So, welcome to another edition of the Ultimate Wellness Group Transformation Tuesday. Today, we are dealing with cancer, and we're going to get in depth today. So, it's going to be Shaolin Soldier. Thank you for coming in, brother. Peace. It's going to be a in-depth conversation because I think there's a lot of ignorance in our community and probably in people in general on cancer. Why does it happen? How does it form? And then, the part that most people know about cancer is all the negative. So we'll get into that. We're also going to about the mainstream minute today and, do a brief exegesis on something that I've seen in the popular media. And then I missed one section when I did the program on milk. There were a couple of questions about the almond milk, the cashew milk, the rice milk, and those type of things. So I want to, make a quick comment on that, and then we'll get straight into what the subject is for today. So again, thank you everybody who has tuned in, who will tune in. I pray that I give you information today that you can use, apply to your life, see some benefits, see some changes, see some improvement. I ask that my impediments, my ego, my arrogance will be removed so I can be a vessel for your benefit, and ask our creator to help us all have an open mind so we can gather information and also apply it once we receive it. So thank you for tuning in, and let's go ahead and get started. So first, today we're going to discuss the mainstream minute. I was doing a little internet research, and I came across this story about toddlers getting too much sugar. And, it's for once, it was actually a pretty good article. Most of the time when I read mainstream media information about health, it's usually, I don't agree with a lot, but this one was very, very on point in general. And I want to make a suggestion at the end. So the article is about toddlers and the type of food choices that parents give them, and then how these high sugar suggestions that we fall into and then give to our children are causing a precursor to disease. And when I finished medical school, diabetes, high blood pressure, high cholesterol, those three general medical problems, which of course have other extenuating circumstances as they maintain themselves in the body for a long period of time, they're usually ending in pretty bad consequences. Diabetes, of course, causes blindness, kidney failure, circulation issues. People get their legs and feet cut off and things of that nature because of long-standing diabetes. People with high cholesterol for long periods of time wind up with heart attacks, which is the leading cause of death here in the United States. And then, of course, high blood pressure can lead to strokes. People are, completely changed for the rest of their life, can't maintain the same physical reality that they had when they prior to a stroke. So those are not good things to wind up having. But those were 40, 50, and 60-year-old diseases when I graduated from medical school. And now we're diagnosing children in junior high with these medical problems. So what we expected in a 60 and a 70-year-old 20 years ago, we're watching happen in teenagers now. And that's a horrible reality. And Denise, thank you for coming in. And the reality is that we could change that by just being better parents. And I'm not trying to say that I'm a better parent than anybody, but in general, parenting is to give your children the best and set them up so that they can be the best of themselves. Well, when you give in to what a child wants to eat, and when you give in to a child's likes, you're setting them up for that type of life where they're going to have some of these negative consequences. I used to always have a saying to my children: if you tell me you're hungry and I put something on that plate and you say you don't like it, obviously you're not hungry enough. Because my children didn't make a decision on what they ate. They ate what they were given. Or you go to bed or do whatever you're going to do hungry. But the food that I put on their plates, the food that I offered to them were foods that I thought were going to help them understand a lifestyle of being able to take care of themselves. This article also talked about children drinking. Well, I take that back. There's another article I read where somebody was writing about children drinking water. Well, if they don't have an option, they won't grow up drinking juices out of box with all this sugar or soda or Gatorade. Those are horrible things to give your children, all three of them. Juice probably being the less of the horrifics, but giving your children juice is not a good thing. And then Gatorade and sodas and all these other things, you're setting your children up for some serious problems down the line. And look out this week, because I'll be doing an Instagram post on Gatorade and the ingredients in it. So that was the mainstream media. Now, as far as the milk presentation, I missed something in the milk presentation, and that was somebody asked me, Nicole Angelique, appreciate you coming in. My brother says, Shaolin Soldier says, Gatorade is equivalent to soda. I would agree with that to some degree. Danny, appreciate you coming in. The only difference that I would say, bro, is that Gatorade, they consider a replacement drink. That is something that's supposed to be hydrating you, which is not true. But they really don't put as much sugar in the Gatorade as they do soda. Soda is just a high sugary drink. Gatorade and other supposedly sports drinks have some sugar in them, but they're not as much sugar. But the problem is some of the additives and some of the colorings really are detrimental to the body. But again, I'll get into that another time, but I thank you for your comment, bro. You're welcome, Nicole. Brother Lawrence, thank you for coming in. So what I failed to mention was the different types of milk that you see in the store. And a lot of people are reverting to these other milks because of the negative connotation that's been put on cow's milk. And so you have people drinking almond milk, or you have people drinking rice milk or cashew milk. And so the first thing that I will say to anybody is, show me some rice that you can squeeze some milk out of. Show me an almond or a cashew that you can squeeze milk out of. So automatically, again, applying our common sense, we know that rice milk, cashew milk, and almond milk has to be a trick, because you can't get milk out of those foods. Number one. Number two, if you're going to make something into a milk, that means that most of the substance has to be water. And then they're adding these other things in order to get this substance, because milk doesn't come from these foods. And you have to look at the processing of these. And then on top of that, the additives that are going in them. Now, you read the ingredients of your rice milk, read the ingredients of your almond milk and your cashew milk. There are a lot of things in there where if it really was milk, you would only have milk. Now, why is there such a negative with the milk? Thank you for coming in, Sabila, Ma Maria, and Samantha. Thank you all for coming in, some of the regulars. Well, you'll have to go back. I don't want to get into this. This is specifically today about cancer, so I don't want to get back into a long exegesis about milk, but you got to understand that the milk that they are selling in the stores is not real milk. That is something that has been tainted, and it causes many problems. It leads to cancer. It leads to sinus issues, allergy issues, skin issues, all kinds of things. There are precursors to cancer in that stuff. But that's not what we should be using as a basis for milk. The milk is what I did a couple of weeks ago. So you got to go back and you got to check that out. And then, of course, we can always get into some discussions, but that is what I wanted to say about those. Those are dangerous, those almond, cashew, and rice milks, because of the additives and the processing that they do to make those. Carl Brown and Aaliyah, thank you for coming in. And so I just wanted to mention that, because I failed to mention that on the day that we actually did the program. So let's get into today's subject. I never apologize for my passion, but I'm going to let you all know now that this is going to be a passionate discussion, because I am extremely passionate about cancer. And why this program is going to be so passionate is because I think I'm giving you information that will help you be able to decipher your way through the cancer phenomena that is so inundated in our society, because there are probably not very many people who don't already have an experience with a family member, a friend, with cancer. And those of us that are 40 or over remember when cancer was rare in the Black community. No, it's not anymore. And there's a serious issue why that's happening. Michelle, thank you for coming in. So firstly, let me say this. I would suggest that everybody that's listening to please go to YouTube and pull up the Breakfast Club interview with Jennifer Lewis. Now, let me first say that there's a lot of cursing, and she does say some things that are vulgar. There's some discussion during that interview that is vulgar, but you're going to have to just rise above that and listen to the interview, because to me, I listened to the entire thing, and it was one of the greatest interviews I've ever listened to. Would I rather her do it without the cursing and some of the vulgarity? Absolutely. But that's regardless. The points that she makes and the overall point that she's trying to get over, I thought she did a masterful job in doing it. So go and take a listen to that. Why am I saying that? Because in my experience, the biggest and largest detriment to the word cancer is what it does to people's minds. I have witnessed with people that I have gone to be their support system in MD Anderson, the so-called greatest cancer center in the world. And if you believe in traditional medicine, it is the greatest cancer institute in the world. But after you finish listening to this, maybe you'll have a different perspective. Michelle says, my uncle just passed last Monday from cancer. Apologize to hear that. Prayers are with you. Alan, appreciate you coming in. Thank you for the compliment. Yes, Maria, I appreciate that. You giving condolences to the sister as well. And, that is kind of right in line with what I'm trying to say. I have had to give that diagnosis to people. I've had to tell people, hey, we did your test. We did a biopsy. We did a certain exam, and, the results have come back saying that you have cancer. And I've also been in a room when other doctors have said that. Now, I try to do it in a compassionate way, give as much hope to the person as I possibly can in the explanation of the problem. I try to put some hope in there. I have been in a room where doctors they just throw it out so bluntly. They say it in a way that gives a person no hope. I was reading an article this morning about a lady who it was a white lady, so she had a pimple on her skin. Went to the doctor, looked at the pimple, said they didn't think it was anything, sent her off. Pimple doesn't go away, stays there, starts to change different colors. She comes back, they reevaluated it, winds up being cancer. Did a biopsy, said they got everything, sent her on about her business. Year later, she has this large lump underneath her arm. Everybody says, oh, it has nothing to do with that little thing you had on your skin. Come out to find out it did. It was cancer growing in her lymph nodes under her arm. And so once the doctors found that out by doing another biopsy, and this took a while for them to figure this out. But then she goes to an oncologist, and the oncologist says, oh, you might as well go home and get your affairs in order. That's just code word for you gonna die. So you might as well go home and get ready to die. And the lady just didn't accept that. But the point is, why would a doctor be so damn blunt in a negative way? Why would you not try to use some compassion? Just give people information that kills them. And that's literally what I mean. Most of the time when we say the word murder or kill, we immediately go to some of this stuff we've seen on movies, or some of us that have seen stuff in real life. Somebody gets shot in the head, or somebody gets shot, and you watch them leak out on the pavement, and next thing you know, they're putting the sheet over. Or we watch some of this stuff in these movies where people get shot and they die right there. Well, the reality is that if a person is given information that detaches them from the reality that they think they're going to live, that person was murdered. And that's what I think this medical community does. That's why I speak like I speak, because there's an aspect of the medical community that murders people every day. Sometimes people get a diagnosis of diabetes and they don't know how to handle it because they watched their mother, grandfather, uncle, or aunt go downhill quickly when they got the diagnosis. And so we have to be very careful as physicians. And I don't think there's a lot of care in what some of these doctors do and what they say. They don't give a damn as long as they're getting paid. And that's why I'm doing this today, because I want to give you some strength and some ammunition so that you can combat some of the negativity that may come. Latasha Muhammad says they're trained robots. Absolutely. And you know, even when I was in the traditional medical system, I wasn't a robot. I used to always ask questions. I used to always do things differently. But that's what they do, is they put you into a protocol, meaning that you are a robot. So I agree with that. Maria says we think of the physical, not the mental or spiritual. Absolutely. And I'm going to get into that. Daniel Gordon, appreciate you coming in. Appreciate you coming in. He says, truth, we need care in healthcare. Absolutely. I'm sorry, I said Daniel as a man. Danielle Gordon, that's a sister. I apologize, my sister. But yes, we need always to be able to challenge everything and anything that we hear, any information that comes to us. We should be able to challenge it to make sure that it makes sense and it fits in with us in a way that benefits us for not only immediately, but long term. That's what I keep saying. I don't want to talk and give any type of information that's only going to help you today. If it can help you today and it can't help you in 30, 40, 50, 100 years from now, then how good is it for you? Because we really need to try to live and live healthily in a society that has so much negativity, so much toxicity, as Sister said, from a physical, mental, and a spiritual perspective. We have to try to keep ourselves in check in all of those different areas. So before this day is over, I want to give you some questions to ask. And if any of you are dealing with this, I pray that the information I'm giving you boosts your hope. There won't be any information coming from this program that's going to help you fight it. If that's what you need, get in touch with me and let's put something together that you need to help boost your ability to survive through whatever you're going through. And for any of you that are still of the mind that the traditional medical way is the best way, don't take this as a negative towards you if you feel that way. But I would suggest that if you plan on dealing with your cancer with chemotherapy and or radiation or surgery, you need somebody like me to be on your team so that you can have a program that helps you heal, that helps you recover from what you're going through. Because how many of you have heard of a person that had cancer and the doctor said that they needed a surgery? They go in and they have the surgery and 6 months later, cancer's all over their body. Well, was that from that phenomena that people say when the doctor goes and he cuts it, they spread it all? No, that's not what's happening. When somebody goes in your body and they open you up and they take a cancer out of your body, doesn't necessarily mean that you spread it in the blood system. It could potentially spread in the blood system. The problem is that when you open up a person that's so abnormal, the immune system takes a dive. Well, if you have cancer, your immune system is already in bad shape because a person with a good immune system can't develop cancer. And so the first statement of hope that I want to make to everybody that's listening is that if you have cancer, no matter what state it's in, if you get good information and you start going in the right direction and boost your immune system, if you do the things that are right and do the things that are necessary, it can't get any worse. So if you woke up today and you have cancer and you start doing something about it today, you can live. Am I guaranteeing you that? No. But I'm guaranteeing you that the body cannot. Let's put it like this. A lot of people say that the human body is a compilation of trillions of cells. Okay, so if you're diagnosed with breast cancer, and let's say, sometimes a woman is diagnosed with breast cancer and it's a small knot, it's like the tip of my thumb, right? So if you have a cancerous lesion in your body like that, that could be a few 100,000 cancer cells. That could be 1 million cancer cells. That could be a couple of million cancer cells. But if you are made up of trillions of cells, 1 million or 2 cells is nothing compared to 1 trillion. So that's how we have to start looking at this. You have to start saying, if I put my 1 trillion soldiers on point, they can kill them a couple of million. But if you don't do the things that boost the trillions of cells, then that couple of million cells will eventually overtake you and put you in the grave. It all depends on how you look at things. I've never seen a person, this is my God's honest truth, I have not seen a person since I have transitioned out of traditional medicine into holistic health, and I spell that with a W. I'm sure some people think that may be crazy. I'll explain that one day, but I did that purposely, not by mistake. I don't misspell things often. Chris Talley, thank you for coming in, my longtime buddy from medical school. But I have not seen a person that I didn't think could heal if they had done a diligent, dedicated program. If you have been diagnosed with cancer, you are in bad shape from a physical perspective, a mental perspective, a spiritual perspective, and definitely from the perspective of your immune system. And so the reason why I asked you all to watch Jennifer Lewis's Breakfast Club interview is because she's talking about the state of mind that she was in all these years because of the abuse that she had gone through as a young child. She talked about the mental illness. And I'm here to tell you that every single one of you that's listening, and even the person that you're listening to, has some mental health issues. You can't be Black in America and not be stressed the hell out. You can't be Black in America with parents that are a couple of generations or maybe even one generation out of slavery and be in a good state of health. It's not possible. We all have some mental health issues. There's solutions for that too. And we'll get to that at another time because I'm more than likely next week is going to be about mental health. I just keep getting these motivations based on, our current talk on what to do next week. And so we'll get into mental health next week because I think that's something that's very important. Back to the subject. Cancer. Let's begin the discussion and get into why people develop cancer and why it is possible for you to be confident that you can beat it, not succumb to it, and be a testimony for a lot of other people. So let's get to it. What are we doing? We're going to the infamous anatomy book. YouTube, give me a second. I'll show it to you as well. There is one of the most impressive and one of the probably more accurate pictures as I've ever seen of a cell. And so I'm not going to get into a lot of the specifics of it because I don't want to take us down a very scientific explanation, but just understand that just as when you look in the mirror, you're looking at a lot of different systems, right? You look in the mirror, you see your head, that brain is in there. You got eyes, a nose that brings air into the respiratory system, right? You got a mouth that feeds the GI system. You have ears that are part of the senses system. You look at your chest, you have lungs in there, you have your heart. So this cell has a lot of different parts in it. That middle portion is what we call the nucleus. That's where the DNA material is. All of these other organelles, because when you come to a human body, you have organs, right? But when you come to a cell, all of these different things are organelles, different types of things that little system does in order to keep this whole cell right. Now, the other thing that you see in here is all of this stuff in here where you see all the things like that's water. So the majority of a cell is water, making you as a human mostly water. Reggie, appreciate you coming in. Now, why am I starting at the cell? Because everything that happens in the human body has to start on a cellular level. Now, the importance of this right here is that every cell ages and has to die. This information is what produces the next cell. This cell is going to die, but that information is going to be sent out, and another cell, meaning this cell, is going to duplicate itself perfectly. Okay? So this information has to be protected. And all of this cell, the purpose of that cell is to keep that information sacred, to keep that information right so that this next cell can be exactly like this one. Now, there's a little deterioration in reality, but it should be so slow and so methodical that we really can't tell. So again, the cell is trying to reproduce itself perfectly. Okay. Now, when we take that information, and let me show this cell to the YouTube crowd quickly. So there's the cell I'm talking about. Hope you all can see that clearly. That's a very good cell. So in the middle is the nucleus with the DNA material, and all those things around there are organelles that are helping protect that so that the process can continue to happen and this person can continue to live. So again, here's another picture of what that DNA material looks like coming out. It's a chromosome. There are telomeres on the end. And that's how we move into producing another cell. That's what the information looks like. When you really get down to a microscopic level, we're looking at something like this, right? So this would be the DNA material. This is what makes you look like you look, your eye color, your hair color, how tall you are, how big your legs are, other parts of your body, whether you have a large chest, a small chest, your arms are long. All of that information is contained in this DNA. You look like your mother, look like your father, look like a combination of the two. And so each cell is duplicating that information. And you can imagine if we're going in that direction, now you're going to take one strand and now you're going to have two strands. And so one strand will be the cell that's about to die. The other strand is a cell that's about to reduplicate itself, right? In a baby, this process is happening very fast. Stem cells, reproducing that baby, making it grow, get larger, producing its cells, all the things in it, right? And so when you have DNA material, it looks like this. And the body reads it and it says, okay, for some reason, not getting out again. There we go. So the body reads this, and this is how it knows how to produce what we see in the mirror. Okay, so that as a basis. So again, over here in YouTube, you all see that DNA material. So it's talking about what separates. Okay, so I just want to give you some visuals so that you can understand where I am going with this. Now, that DNA material, Jacqueline and Willie, thank you all for coming in. That information that I just showed you is the basic DNA and how we reproduce and how everything is kept right in the human body, how every aspect of the body knows what to do and how to do it is based on that information in that DNA. Okay, so it would make sense. We all should be able to use our common sense and say, Vicky, thank you for coming in. If the DNA material is that important, well, it tells everything what to do, everything how to function, and it's the reality of how we reproduce ourselves and maintain ourselves, then that has to be protected. So when you don't drink enough water, and when you don't eat enough foods with the vitamin B in it, because most of the vitamin B, like, people hear of a vitamin B complex where you have vitamin B1, B2, B3, B6, B9, B12. And then you have the B complex, which is a lot of other substances that go along with that. Well, that's the way God did it. He did it as a complex. And it's amazing that the majority of the B vitamins are strictly aimed at repairing DNA and keeping DNA right. So that would make sense that if you want your cells to be right and you want to continue to function well, you should be eating foods with vitamin B. Makes sense, right? Now, what does that have to do with cancer? Well, it has a lot to do with cancer, because when a person starts to make some of the mistakes that a lot of us make, in that you don't know how to hydrate yourself, you don't know, or you don't drink enough water, you eat a lot of meat and processed foods, you don't eat enough fruits and vegetables, you don't buy organic food, you would rather prioritize the way you look and get your hair done and your nails are right and the type of shoes you wear and the car you drive and the house you live in, rather than prioritize the type of foods that you should put in your body to maintain your health. And so with that type of mentality, as time goes on, these cells are not being taken care of correctly, and you start to go in the direction of negativity. So I wrote down the first word there is atypia. Okay. So when you become dehydrated, when you have not gotten the right amount of nutrition in your body, your cells sometimes in some organs can become atypical. What does atypical mean? Well, let's use an example of your car. If you have a nice car, it's painted well, you go somewhere and you park it and you come out of the place that you're going, you spend a few hours or a few minutes or whatever in there, you come out and you see a car that looks like yours, but it's got scratches on it. You walk out and you see somebody done scratched your car up and put some few dents on it and something like that. So you look at the car and it's still yours, but now you're saying that's atypical because I didn't have scratches on before. You have to go and make sure you hit that little thing and make sure that's the right car. Put the key in it, open the door. Yeah, it is my car. Somebody did something to it. So it's atypical, right? It doesn't look like it was before. And then A person continues not to drink enough water, continues not to hydrate, continues not to do the right things, and you get to a state of dysplasia. What is dysplasia? Dysplasia is when the cells not only start becoming atypical, but now they're starting to be dysfunctional, meaning that they're not functioning correctly. So it would be like, not only did somebody scratch up your car, but somebody actually like banged in your radiator or messed up one of your tires. So now you driving down the street and your car is doing, and you know, every time the car rotates, you lean it over and now it's heating up. So now not only is the car looking different, but now it's functioning different. See, those are two warning signs in the body that things are going in the wrong direction: atypia and dysplasia. Sister Sabila has a wonderful question. Is it okay to take vitamin B supplements? I'm going to get to that in a minute. But the quick answer is no. I'll get to it in a minute. So now we continue down this road, and we're talking years now. We're not talking a couple of months. We're not talking a few weeks. We're talking a long period of time where these things start to happen. For you on YouTube, you see atypia, dysplasia. And now we're at the third part where we're getting to, what is that? Carcinoma in situ. What does that mean? That means that the cells are starting to change. They're starting to be dysfunctional, meaning they're not working correctly. But now the DNA material is so abnormal that the cell is out of control. The cell is not within the confines of what it's supposed to be. It's like going to somebody's house and you see the children running the home. The parents are not running the home. Children telling the parents what to do. When the cell starts to become dysfunctional to a place where it starts to do its own thing, that cell is now out of control. And that's called carcinoma in situ. Now, I'm only using this terminology for you to understand cancer. In every organ, we have different ways that we classify, but I'm just doing this in general so that you all kind of have a basic understanding of what is happening in your body when we're going in the direction of cancer. So carcinoma in situ usually has a lot of different stages in it. Like when it comes to cervical cancer in women, it could be 1, 2, 3, 4. It could be 1A, 1B. So it depends on what the cells are doing, what organ it's in. There are different staging, what we call staging aspects of carcinoma in situ, meaning early cancer or cells going in the direction of cancer. And then you actually get to actual cancer. Okay, so atypia at first, dysplasia, carcinoma in situ, and then you get down to that C word that we can't stand to see, can't stand to hear. People lose their life when they hear it, literally, as I explained earlier, that you get to a place where a person can say a word to you and it literally murders you. It kills you. Sean Ali, thank you for coming in. That's how powerful and destructive a word can be. That's how our experiences are. As a physician, my experience with cancer is different than you all, but in general, our experience is the same. What is it? Person gets the diagnosis, has no hope. They start taking this medication, usually chemotherapy or radiation. You see them get thin. You see them not be able to eat. They lose their hair. They lose their eyebrows. A person who cuts their hair to be bald looks different than a person who's losing their hair and going bald. So that person goes through this. They're not able to eat. You see them get skinny. They look frail, and then they die. So if somebody tells you you have cancer, what do you have to look forward to when that's your experience? I'm passionate about this because it's happened in my family. I'm passionate about this because, you know, I suffer every day with the fact that I went to medical school and became part of a system. And it, of course, like everything else, it wasn't my fault. It took me time to realize that there were better things out there, that I should have had a more open mind. But I wish I could go back and help my family members that are dead. I wish they would have listened to me. Some of them, I told them some things and they just didn't listen. But, you know, you have to live with that when you're in my position. When you're in the position that you have information to help people and they do or listen or don't listen, that's a reality that you have to live with. But I'm hoping that you all are armed with something that helps you manifest a different reality, even if you get some bad news. But the perspective that I hope that all of you take from today is that you should be trying to kill cancer every day, because I do. Yesterday was my eating day. Today is my fasting day. And so with the food that I ate last night, which was broccoli, cauliflower, some onions, some bell peppers mixed up in that. My wife steamed those, and so it was nice and a little bit crunchy, good taste to it. And I had some quinoa pasta with some vegetarian sausage in it. I put some onions in that, had some turmeric on it, and some seasoning salt and some Celtic sea salt. And then before I ate, I had some raw milk with a little sugar in it because I don't like tasting milk, so I put sugar in it so that I can so it's palatable as it goes down. But as I'm drinking the milk, as I'm eating my food last night, I'm saying to myself, tomorrow I'm not going to eat. So whatever's wrong in my body, it's being fixed. I know that broccoli and cauliflower and onions and bell peppers are good sources of vitamin B. So I'm saying to myself, I'm fixing any DNA problems that I have. And see, that's what I want you all to do. You have to be confident when you sit down at your table and you start putting this food in your body. You should be able to say to yourself, this is how I take care of, maintain, and improve my body. If that's not what you are doing, if that's not what you're saying when you're sitting down at your plate, it's either because you don't know to say that or because you know you're eating food that is not good for you. And so hopefully we'll start making some changes. Back to the subject. So now here it is that you have gone through these stages and now you have cancer in your body, whether you know it or you don't. The problem is that most people, when they get the diagnosis, this right here is destroyed. But maybe today, with a little more information, maybe we can help some people not get destroyed. Because the first thing that you should say when you get cancer, potentially, for the majority of people, it is a consequence of your actions. Yes, a consequence of your actions, whether you were aware of it or whether you were ignorant. Most cancer, probably upwards of 90% of cancers, are a consequence of actions. We are inundated with a lot of toxicity every day. And we're not drinking enough water. We don't know how to hydrate. We're not eating the right type of foods. We're not eating enough fruit that has all of those beautiful phytonutrients in it that help solve the problems in the body. And so your body is going through this process right here. This process of deterioration. It happens slowly over time. God didn't make these bodies to go in this direction. This is the result of not taking care of it correctly. So if you're going in that direction because of what you are not doing correctly, do you have the type of confidence? Do you have the right type of faith to believe that you can go in the other direction? If you can go in a direction of negativity, can't you go in a direction of positivity? Of course you can. And that's what I am trying to do, is give you that type of information on these programs every Tuesday. But for those of you who are in the midst of fighting cancer, I think it would do you a great benefit to connect with me. Let's sit down. Let's discuss it. Give me a chance to look at what is going on with you. Let's put a program together that will give you some confidence. But you got to have it here first. What is it that you believe? See, what I believe and what my experience tells me and what my study tells me is that even when a person has cancer, if you woke up this morning, you have more cells doing good than bad. Now, understand that a cancer cell, as I said before, is out of control, wicked, and just doing whatever the heck it wants to do, totally usually in contrary to how the body works correctly. Cancers don't promote life. They promote death. But if you woke up, if you opened your eye and you get to breathe again, you have more cells doing good, doing right, and trying to survive than you have that are in the cancerous state. That ought to give you some hope. I got breath today. What can I do today to take my body in the right direction? Well, it goes right back to the progression of negativity. And you want to start going in the progressive way, in a beneficial way. So what would be the first thing that I would suggest to anybody who is wanting to go in the right direction? Well, the first thing you have to do is you have to start thinking, how do I promote building my immune system? Because a lot of us are still not convinced when we hear information that makes common sense. We still are not convinced. Why? Because some of us have had ignorant information, lies, and sometimes foolishness going on in our life from our parents and whoever else helped raise us for many, many more years than you've been thinking positively. And so when you look at, as I showed before, this kind of just couple of pages of all the systems of the body, right? When you look at that system right there, we're talking about the skeletal system. Those are bones. Every day, you have a system called osteoclasts and osteoblasts. Osteoblasts make bone, osteoclasts break bone down. That is the skeletal system aspect of the immune system. Muscles, same thing. Every time you get up and move around, every time you do any strenuous activity with a muscle, you cause what we call micro tears. Your body has to repair that. Nervous system, we talked about that last week, a couple weeks ago when we talked about the milk. And all around your nerves, you have these cells that repair any damage. So I don't need to inundate you with the information, but as you go through all these systems, every single one of them has a specific aspect of the immune system that takes care of that particular system. So the entire body has an immune system. There's an overall immune system that rotates through the bloodstream. And then you have a specific immune system that is part of each organ system. Each specialized system in your body has a specialized immune aspect to it that repairs that specific organ or that specific system. Does that give you any more confidence? That you can look in the mirror and you know that my eyes have a specific system that keeps my eyes doing right. My gums, my teeth, my tongue, my nose, my skin, my brain, all of these different systems have immune cells. Finish saying. The immune system is to stop that atypia from going to dysplasia, from going to carcinoma in situ, from going to cancer. The immune system is supposed to keep this process from happening. As I said before, the immune system is supposed to keep that cell healthy, keep that DNA right, so you can replicate that cell perfectly. You can't get cancer when you're replicating perfectly. You can't get cancer when you're keeping your DNA pure. You can't get cancer when you keep your body hydrated, as well as drinking enough water. You can't get cancer when your body is nutritionally sound. What am I saying? Go back a few programs. Alkaline. That whole alkaline thing is outside of truthful information. People are repeating what they're hearing, and you don't know what you're talking about. Running around telling people to have an alkaline diet is foolish information. Every single one of you should be trying to be neutral. That's how you keep from getting cancer. You can get cancer in acidic or alkaline. I said that before. It's possible. More than likely, it happens in the acidic phase. But alkalinity can cause cancer too. You want to be neutral. And so when you have proper nutrition and you have proper hydration and you detoxify your body, and most importantly, you think correctly, you can't get cancer. So going back to Jennifer Lewis's Breakfast Club interview, this was years ago. I had one of my best friend's wife, Sister Eugenia, came to me one day, and she was talking about somebody that we mutually knew who had cancer, and she said, when a person has deep-seated emotional problems, it can manifest itself in cancer. And I remember when she first said it, I was like, man, what the hell? But over time, I bear witness that she was telling the truth. I was ignorant of it at that time. But a lot of times cancer cells are because of the negativity that we hold on to. And so this portion is specifically for those of us who are Black people. Everybody can take this information, but I want to specifically address Black people. I do a lot of work in the communities, in the poor communities around Houston. And, before I came to Houston, I did work in the poor communities and other places that I stayed. And we don't want to talk about the rape and the child molestation and the incest and the cheating and the beatings and the mistreatment of children because they look like that man that I used to be with and can't stand anymore. See, these kind of things that are going on in our lives, it causes you so much negativity. It suppresses you so much that just the wrong type of thinking all the time can produce a deterrent to your immune system. So it's very important for you all to understand that the mental aspect of your being healthy is supremely important. You can't measure it, because you can have a person eating the right food and being hydrated and detoxify and get diseases because their thinking is bad. So I'm saying that we got to put the whole package together. But specifically you with cancer, you have to find a way to say, you know, where does the creator fit in this? If I believe in God, where does God fit in this cancer thing that I got going on? These people telling me I got cancer. How many people out here have had this problem? How many people out here in this world we live in have cured themselves of cancer? Is there any information out there? There's plenty of stuff you can pull up. I say be careful in reading some of it, but go to it because maybe it'll give you some hope. But here's something for you to think about. Have you ever seen in nature now, I'm talking in nature, have you ever seen a giraffe with cancer? A lion with cancer? A hippopotamus with cancer? It's very, very rare. Hardly even noticeable. I'm talking about in nature. Now, when people started producing zoos, which of course, to a certain degree started with black people being the first animals in there, but zoos domesticate animals, and people, when you have pets, you domesticate animals. There's nothing normal about what you do with an animal when you put it in a cage or a backyard. That's not their normal habitat. Dogs and cats don't normally eat dog and cat food. So those of you who know that, okay, I took my cat or my dog or my such and such animal to the veterinarian and they had cancer. Yeah, because you did that to that animal. But you don't find that in nature. Johnny Diggs, thank you for coming in. So I'm saying that because that should give you some hope. If God doesn't have cancer as a common thing in nature, then that shows you that it's extremely abnormal. And if it's not normal in nature, that means you can kill it. You can solve it. You can deal with it. But you got to believe it here first. You've got to go and meditate on the fact that if we go right here in Houston and we go into some of these backwoods and some of these areas that are a little more remote, and we see a deer, see a raccoon, see a rabbit, see squirrels, they're living in their normal habitat. Some of you that live in neighborhoods, you see the squirrels up in the trees and all, they're living in their natural habitat. You can't take that squirrel and domesticate that squirrel. Not that one that's running over your house and running over those trees. That squirrel is still being inundated with the same stuff in the air that you are. That squirrel is still being inundated with the toxicity that's in the water that you are. The difference is they can't think negatively as in, oh my God, what's going to happen? Oh, my mother treated me in a certain way because I look like daddy squirrel. Those kind of things don't happen. So there's a lot of mental anguish that's part of our deterioration as a physical perspective. And so if you're looking in the mirror, or if you're people that you know that have been a part of your life look at you and they say that you don't look good or you look stressed out, that's because that negativity has a physical reality. And so if negativity and anxiety and negative words and a negative upbringing has a physical manifestation, don't you believe it has a mental and a spiritual manifestation? Yes. You all that are listening to this program have done like me. You've walked into rooms before and there are people there before you, and you walk in a room, you're like, hey, man, the hell is going on in here? The whole aura of the room was bad. Whether it was to you or just something negative was going on before you came in the room, you felt it. So that mental and spiritual energy that goes out is real. And you have to mentally, physically, and spiritually fight anything that's a negative in your life. And so when it comes to cancer, the first thing that you have to do is deal with your mind. And so again, I'm suggesting everybody go, please, and listen to Jennifer Lewis. Excuse the curse words, excuse the vulgarity, and listen to the point that this sister is trying to get over to us. And that's the major point that I'm trying to get over to you. And let's get on a plan, every single one of us that has not gotten a diagnosis of cancer as of today. Let's start living our life every day as if we are going to live at a level where cancer can't penetrate this supreme body. But then you got to start thinking of it like that. You got to start thinking that the statement, I can't afford organic food or I can't afford healthy food, that's asinine. I'm not trying to put anybody down. Go look up the word asinine. That is an asinine statement. Because if you drive a car and you make sure that you're putting that quality high octane gas in your car, when are you going to start taking that perspective with yourself? You can't keep eating what's cheap. You can't keep eating what just fills you up. You have to start eating with a mind state. And if you have cancer, you got to start doing that today. Severely important, dedicated, diligent. Tell yourself, I'm not going to let this cancer kill me. This cancer can't kill me. I'm saying that. Cancer can't kill me. I'm not going to allow it to. First of all, I'm going to try to do enough of the time right to not allow cancer to even be able to manifest itself in this body. But if I get the diagnosis, y'all going to see a crazed man. I don't want to be around anything negativity, no negative thoughts, no negative television, no negative food, nothing but life. That's how you can get yourself back. If other people can cure themselves of horrific stages of cancer, so can you. But it starts by making sure that the thought process of having a good immune system is first. And so if they give you a diagnosis of cancer, it's usually in a system. Like if it's in a muscle, it's a sarcoma. If it's in the brain, it's usually some type of cancer. If it's in the bone, it's some type of cancer. Cancers are broken down, usually in the type of cancer it is. It's with a specific system. Well, I just showed you all those different systems in the body that has the immune system in that system. You have to start thinking that this system that my cancer is in, I'm going to boost my immune. When you first start, you're going to have some things come up in your mind right after you say it. I'm going to kill this cancer. Oh, other people die from it. I'm going to kill this cancer. Oh, I just don't feel good. I'm going to kill this cancer. Oh, but this doctor told me my chance is only 30% to live. You've got to continue to say the positive statements. Every time the negative come back, kill that negative with something else positive. And then go do an activity. Walking outside in the park around plants and trees and water and grass and dirt. Some of that natural aromatherapy that helps boost your immune system. Some of that good food, the right type of food that I've been talking about. Getting your body neutral. Hydrating. All of these things will boost the immune system. When we talked about fasting last week, I told you that fasting for 3 days will repair and renew all of the blood cells. White blood cells. What are white blood cells? The immune system floating around in the bloodstream. Red blood cells is what takes the nutrition all over the body. And then the plasma, which is the basic makeup of the blood to help things flow. 3-day fast, and you can boost your immune system, reproduce the whole system. See, these are things that will give you hope, because every time you do it, you're saying to yourself, I'm going to beat this cancer. But now you have an activity behind the words. That gets rid of the negativity. You start feeling better. You start looking better. Well, if you look better and you feel better, that's a sign that something is going in the right direction. You're taking care of that cell. You're protecting that DNA. The cells are replicating in a positive way. And then you got to go back to the statement that I made, that this body is probably a few trillion cells or maybe more. The cancer is a few million. Who gonna win? Which one you going with? Which one will you put your money on? Well, when I say put your money on it, I'm not talking about betting. I'm using that as an analogy. I'm talking about your time, your effort, your thought, and your spirit. What you going to put it on? You going to put it on dying? That's what's going to happen. What do I mean by that? Well, I've had plenty of patients come to me, and I mentioned earlier, I've seen people get the diagnosis of cancer. I knew they died right there when they got it. I saw it happen. Their whole spirit just sunk and never came back. But what I'm saying is that I've had patients come to me, and one man, I saw his daughter actually a couple of weeks ago at the gas station. And she asked me if I remember. Of course, I remember you. I'll never forget you, long as you live. I probably can't tell you what your name is, but I'll never forget your face. Your father came to see me. He told me he was going to die, and 2 weeks later, he was dead. He came to my office and he sat in my office. His wife and his daughter were there. He asked if he could talk to me one-on-one. So they got up and they left. We closed the door. He said, "Doc, I'm tired." And I said, "Well, what do you mean by tired?" He said, "I'm tired." I said, "Okay, I got to understand what you are saying. Do you mean tired like you don't have energy and you just need something to boost your energy? Or you talking about tired like you ready to check on up out of here?" He said, "I'm tired. I'm ready to check up out of here. I don't want to be around anymore." So when his mother and his wife came back in, he told me I could be honest. And I told them, I said, it really is no need for you all to continue bringing them to me, because there's not much that I can do for a man that has made up his mind he's not going to live. I also watched this happen in my father. My father was a very, very educated man, not only from the fact that he went to dental school, but he also liked to read a lot. He was a very intelligent man. He always wanted to know about all different things. He wanted to be a well-versed and well-rounded man. I owe so much of who I am to him. My father started losing his memory because in the dental field, there's a lot of mercury, a lot of aluminum. He was a type of physician. He was the type of dentist like I am a physician. When I used to have HIV patients, I wouldn't put on gloves because I never wanted them to feel lesser than me. I would take my time. I would be careful, but I used to take HIV patients' bloods without gloves. I wasn't worried about it. I wanted to treat them like human beings. And so my father was the same type of man. He didn't used to do some things with. I could just get to that shotgun, I'd end this right now. And so, of course, after that, he said that my brother made sure that he didn't have access to the weapons that they had in the house. But long story short, when a person makes up their mind that they don't want to live anymore, it's a done deal. There's nothing that you can do. It took a few years for my father to literally die, but once you make up your mind, there's nothing that anybody else can do. So if you have children, if there's something that you want to accomplish in your life, or there's somebody that you love that you want to stay alive for, put that in the mind and make it a strong commitment, a postulate. Say, I'm not going to get taken out of here by cancer. Say it to yourself every day until you believe it. And then put the actions behind it. You can overcome cancer. You don't have to accept it as a death sentence unless you accept it as a death sentence. And when you accept it as a death sentence, that's what your future is. Scripture says it like, so as a man thinketh, so is he. Well, I just gave you some examples of how that scripture can be accepted. I know there may be some people on here that are atheists or don't believe in religion. I understand, it's all good. But at the end of the day, I see truth in it when it's congruent with scientific reality, like I just proposed. So as a man thinketh, so is he. So as a woman thinketh, so is she. I've watched that in reality when people get a death sentence and they don't have any hope anymore. So I hope that this today has given you some hope. Michelle says higher energy, higher love for self. Absolutely. Oh, maybe she said sales. Yeah, absolutely. The thing that I left out is that sun. When you are fighting any type of medical problem, getting out in that sun is supremely important, because sun activates vitamin D, which is boosts the immune system, but the sun also activates the cells in general. It invigorates and enthuses the body with energy because the sun is directly tied to our energy source. She also says meditate on love of self, grounding. Absolutely. Aromatherapy. That's right, Sister Denise. So yes, there's a beautiful technique, and let me not call it a technique. That's improper. There's a beautiful healing modality called Reiki therapy. I do it on a regular basis. And part of Reiki therapy is getting your chakras in alignment. For those of you who have not done any research, don't know anything about that, CHAKRA. Take a look, check it out one day. Maybe we'll do a program on it if you all would like and ask the questions for it. But they are basically the 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 spiritual pineal gland oriented centers of the body that regulate life. The pineal gland. There's a lot of information out there where people kind of just run off at the mouth. They don't really know what it is, but the pineal gland is really a part of the brain that is tied to the universe. And whatever you think is the creation of all of this, whether it was a person, whether it was a man, whether it was a being, whether it was a spirit, whether it was evolution, whatever that intelligence is, the pineal gland is associated with that. Because when a person gets sleep at night with darkness, the way you're supposed to sleep, they notice that the pineal gland promotes a large production of melatonin, which is highly associated with very good sleep. It's also associated with the sun. And when a person is doing things and they feel good and they're being activated with that energy from the sun, that they make high levels of serotonin, which we consider the feel-good brain neurotransmitter. The more they learn about it, the more they can look back into those old Black societies in Kemet. The place that we call Africa is really East Asia. That's the true name for it. Some people call it Kemet. The other name is Alkebulan. But Africa, we should stop calling it that because that's after a white man, Africanus. Just like when we say America, we're talking about Amerigo Vespucci. So if you're walking around calling yourself African American, you're calling yourself after two white men's names. And I know some people might think I'm getting off the subject. No, those are the type of things that make us mentally deficient. Those are the type of things that don't give us the type of self-esteem and self-confidence that we should have. That's the point that I'm making, that the pineal gland is what a lot of researchers are calling the third eye. Well, Black people have been saying that for eons. Black people have been saying that since before other races were even realities. Yes, that's how long we've been saying it. The third eye, the ability to tap into thinking about a person and they walk through the door, thinking about a person, and now the phone rings and it's that person. Thinking about a person because something attached you to that person and something major just happened in their life. I have friends who are twins. They know when something's happened to them. That's that third eye. That's that pineal gland. That's activated and benefited by the sun. That's activated and benefited when you do what some people call grounding. I just call it reattaching to nature. Walk around barefooted sometimes, not in your house, outside in that dirt and the grass. And so I said all that to get to the point that I do my Reiki therapy. I just do a short 8-minute Reiki therapy of regrounding my chakras and my pineal gland. When I do it, it's usually after my workouts in the park. I take off my shoes and my socks. I put my feet on the ground and I do my 8 minutes of chakra therapy. So, all these things give me confidence because I know I'm going to eat right. I know I'm going to hydrate. I know I'm trying to think right. I try to stay off of television as much as I can. That doesn't mean I don't watch it sometimes. That doesn't mean I don't go to movies. Yes, but the majority of time, I'm trying to put something right in this head. I'm trying to think right. When negative people come around me, I either get away from them or I'm going to change the conversation. When I go to the barbershop or I go to other places where there are other Black men, I'm not going to sit around and talk about sports the whole time. I'm going to change the subject. We all got to start taking control of our environment. Let your environment be impossible for cancer to be around it. I don't even allow myself to think that cancer is possible. And so for those of you who don't have any diagnosis like that, start thinking that way. But then put in some of the activities that I've been discussing so that it can't happen. Because there has to be some activity behind the words. Faith without works is dead. I believe that 1000%. And so the final thought for those of you who have cancer. If I was you, I would go to the internet. They've told you what kind of cancer it is. They've told you what organ is in. Go to the internet and pull up the organ and look at a picture of it. And then you go and you find some place that you can go and get quiet. turn your phone off. Turn the television off. Turn the radio off. Tell everybody to leave you alone for however much time you need. Don't bother me until I come back out this room. Make it a dark room. Do it at night. Do it early in the morning. And you visualize that organ being correct and working fine and working superiorly and killing anything that's wrong in it. And then you come out of that room when you're ready and you start putting together the type of lifestyle that will give you what I've just finished talking about for the last hour, the right mind state. Don't worry about if you fall asleep. You fell asleep with the right thing on your mind. When you wake up, something is going to be improved on that thought. I'm telling you what happens to me on a regular basis. Sometimes when I go to sleep at night, I try to pray before I go to bed. I don't always do it, but I try to pray before I go to bed. When there's certain things on my mind, when I wake up in the morning, I got the answer. That's not by happenstance. That's because you had your mind on something specific before you went to bed. And the rest aspect of night gave your body the ability to concentrate on that. And you wake up in the morning like, oh, yeah, now it's time to act. But go to the internet, find that picture, look at that picture and visualize that organ in you working correctly and getting better. Do that for a few days. Do that for a couple of weeks until it's ingrained in you. And every time you have that mental picture of that organ come up in your body, you're thinking positively. When you get there, then go back and look at some pictures of all the organs in the body. And start thinking to yourself, I'm going to do the activity to make all these organs work together correctly. Make all these trillions of cells work at its supreme ability so that nothing can grow inside of this body other than what this DNA material is going to say perfectly to produce this other cell that's going to work right. So I start producing the next cell that's a little better than the one from before. Remember the list? Right? Now we're going, right? The last word there is metastasis. That's when cancer is in multiple organs. It started in one and it went to another organ. So you don't say, like, if cancer starts in the liver and goes to the brain, you don't say, oh, this person got liver and brain cancer. No. If you have liver cancer and then it goes to the brain, you say that I have liver cancer that metastasized to the brain. So it's liver cancer. Hope I'm making sense. But now we're going in the opposite direction. You're going cancer back towards atypia and then to a normal cell. I hope that makes sense. But that's what you got to do. You got to start thinking every day, because I'm thinking positive. I'm drinking my water. I'm hydrating. I'm eating correctly. I'm getting sunshine. I'm doing some physical activity to keep this body right. I'm doing my yoga. I'm doing my Reiki therapy. My nutrition is on point. My cells are starting to repair this DNA. My cells are starting to decrease the damage and go towards making cells correctly. I got to be killing cancer. These trillions of cells got to whoop the behind of those millions of billions. You've got to start thinking that way in order to fight cancer and win. That's the way I would do it if I got it. If I ever get it. That's the way I'm going to fight it. But I'll be honest with you all. The stuff that I'm talking to you about on a weekly basis on the Ultimate Wellness School Transformation Tuesday, I'm trying to live that example. And those who know me personally know that I live this. I don't just talk this. So I am somebody that can help you. Those of you who need my help, reach out to me. The number's on the website. Reach out to me. Let's get a program together that can give you confidence. And those of you who are not, let's start working on getting the confidence so that you'll never have to have anybody say some words into your ear that can be detrimental to the life that you live. Hope I made sense today. Michelle Muhammad. In connection with the earth, there is 100% congruence. We are congruent with the earth, congruent with the atmosphere, the whole universe. And so when we're watching the universe take care of itself, that's the same ability we have. Disease is not possible with God. Cancer is not possible with God. So it's obviously that a lot of us are outside of the way God wanted us to do things. And I already proved that to you, because a lot of you have watched nature shows. They don't have no, common reality of lions developing any particular cancer because they live in this part of Africa and they eat this type of meat. It doesn't happen. Not in nature. Kay Darling, thank you for coming in. Jacqueline, thanks for the comment. So again, this has been a very passionate, very deeply passionate conversation today because of the people that I've lost to cancer. And I've lost some people that I know could have healed themselves. And so it was very passionate, very deep for me to do this. It's been a struggle. It's ever since it came out of my mouth last week. But I'm glad I was able to make it through it. And I pray that I gave you some information, some news you can use. I thank all of you for tuning in. I thank you for giving me some of your time. And I pray that you believe that I'm giving you good information and giving you information that can help take your life into a healing journey. And so until next time, keep up the fight. Keep up learning new information. And remember, if your mind is not on your health is not on your mind. So let's stay strong, keep working hard, make those changes. And thank you all for tuning in to the Ultimate Wellness Group today for our discussion. Peace.